Hello, stream. Chris, how the fuck did you make USMP for the stream? It was 30 minutes ago. I just saw it on Twitter. Yeah, I was gonna put more effort into it because I wanted to render it more. But I literally was working on it up till 8:55, as in like 5 minutes before the stream started, and posted everywhere. Because I was like, I just want to get it out. Yeah, I'm a little bit of a guy that loves to draw fast. See, that's what you miss when it comes to me doing Homestuck stuff, is that my speed is not visible, but I'm quite a fast drawer. But yeah, I rushed that out. It was also like the second QSMP stream I've ever watched. I think I watched, well, no, I've tuned into a couple of Jaden's streams, but I was very invested because I saw all the fan art of Slimes, of all the fan art of Slime, like, going batshit, and I was like, I gotta know what's going on. And then I saw his tweet of, like, the trial, and it was like 44 minutes ago started, and I was like, you know what? I'll just peek, and then I got invested, so, I'll probably tune into more. I've been watching Charlie since the beginning. It's been a wild ride. I can imagine. I wish I knew more of the lore. I just really like the stream. That's the first Minecraft YouTube fan art I've drawn in like months. So I kind of want to dip my toes back in. I don't know. Oh, we'll see. Homestuck Day tomorrow. Homestuck Day is tomorrow, and I was hoping that I'd have stuff for it, but I have nothing for it. So we're just gonna vibe. And I'll maybe, I don't know, I'll treat myself to reading EMC2 and probably drawing fan art for EMC2. I read Fall of Rome a few days ago and the pain, but it was very good. Yes. Have you been watching Limited Life? Kinda, nah, a little bit, here and there. Not dedicatedly. I wish I was more invested in it, but I don't know. It hasn't enraptured my interest as much as previous seasons did. And I think that's more just because of me and, like, me changing my interest. But, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure. So, listen, it is Jimmy, so even though I don't know anything about where everybody's at time-wise, I can imagine that he... he has the least amount of time. Does he really? Last I checked, Skiz was the one that was dying a shit ton, but also it's been a hot minute, so 3 hours, 30 minutes. Wow. Oh wow, they really got down to the wire, huh? I'll probably end up watching everything in hindsight. So, but QSMP is interesting to me. I know jack shit about Spanish, so I have to kind of, like, really focus, and the translator is, like, only so good, you know, where it's kind of hard to get the entire context of everything. Like, a lot of the stuff in the court scene or whatever, I was like, you have to pick up on context clues, and also I didn't know anything about everything that was building up to it, so I was like doing my best to, like, focus and concentrate on it. But I imagine for people who know both Spanish and English, it is very, very entertaining. And I bet it's probably inspiring a lot of people who only know one language of the two to, like, learn the other, which is also very cool. I just think what QSMP is doing is really, really impressive and really neat. But yeah. It made me start Duolingo again, huh? Oh yeah. I did Duolingo for Spanish for, like, a few months, and then I kind of dipped off. But I don't know. Maybe I should. I just feel it's like the only thing for me, it's like if I'm not able to practically apply the language, like if I don't have, like, a friend that I can talk to in Spanish, like, consistently or whatever, or practice with, I feel like there's, like, and not that there's no point, but it's, like, hard for me to feel motivated to dedicate myself to it. It's like an incentive? Yeah, for sure. So maybe if I get invested enough into it, I will, I'll dip my toes. Hello. Hi, Crenshaw. My friend's fucking DMing me, like, the pandemic is over, Chris is drawing Minecraft YouTube again. Oh my god. Oh, it has been a while. Hello, Ellipti. Oh yeah, I didn't say hi to everybody, but Ellipti, Willow, Skitty, Storm, Celeste, Duality. I hope you all are doing lovely tonight. Because my plan was, after I went running, which I did, I was gonna come home and then I was gonna write the summaries, and then I didn't, and I drew QSMP Fanner instead. So I don't have a summary, but I can just read kind of the last chapter, kind of what it was, you know, all the stuff. Essentially, we had a really nice Soul Cat moment, where we went through some of Solix's memories pre-event and saw the kind of development of Karkat and Solix's relationship. And we also saw Dave, who had gone into the past, not really knowing how he did, but he went into the past, talking to Rose from the past, from pre-event. Rose told him to go steal a golden fiddle from June, and Dave goes and does that, and along the way meets his other time, his like current version who is in that time in the pre-event, and that Dave helps him out. His time clone helps him out. Or no, well, he's the time clone in this case, but they help each other out, and Dave successfully gets a hold of the fiddle. And that's kind of where we're at now. And we are probably just gonna hop right in. And yeah, I think music levels are good. Okay. Yeah, alright. So this is chapter 39. Oh my god, we're getting so close. We're going to do... this is chapter 39, Immortals / the Radiance. And we're just going to hop right in. The moment you hand Rose the gold fiddle, you get the distinct and ever-present feeling that you're not meant to be here any longer. So even though she invites you in, you wave her off. You step back and you can feel the pull of what you suppose is time. It flows and pulses, begging you to just fall into it. And so you do. Just like that, you're in hell again. Back in your room, which is now thawed out and looks far more like a place that you might live. Nepeta is at the door, holding it mostly shut and talking through the gap. No, like I said, she's caught off from a voice outside. Of course I heard you. There's no problem with that, nor would I presume to tell the heir and Antichrist himself what to do, but I am acting on our divine ruler's orders here, you know? It's not that I'm talking down to you because of your lower status. I was always in support of Bro's reform of that sort of thing, the voice from beyond the door says. Nepeta's tail is lashing angrily behind her as the guy completely talks over her. I can come in and talk to him, of course. He needn't come to the door on my account, the voice says. No, like I said, he's sleeping. You can come back. Nepeta's sharp response is suddenly cut off. You'd moved ever so slightly towards her, just an inch, but she spots you, and you see some of the tension leave her. Well, he's awake now, but I don't know if I want to talk to you, Nepeta says finally. But he simply, the voice from beyond says, and you relent, walking to the door. Nepeta steps back so you can open it more and look at the smarmy-looking demon beyond, who lights up to see you. Hello, sire. Wonderful to see you, of course. I am here to deliver you a summons from your father. He wants to see you, he says smoothly, and inclines his head in a respectful little gesture. To see the devil, you say flatly. Yes, of course. Oh, how rude of me not to introduce myself. I am Zebra. He smiles, though it doesn't quite reach his eyes in a genuine way. You think about this place, how Bro tried to crush you in the ice, what happened to Solux. No, I'm not going, you say firmly. Panic flits over the demon's face, quickly smothered by a slightly condescending expression that's pretending to be sympathy. I'm sorry, that wasn't a request. He is insistent that you go. I'm just the messenger, you understand, but it's still an order from him, Zebra tells you. Well, you can give him a message from me. Tell him to fuck off, you say, and shut the door. There's a muffled protest from the other side, but you've no interest in opening it again. You stalk angrily away from the door and go sit on the bed. That's not going to go well, you know that, right? Nepeta asks. You shrug. You're in hell, so well is pretty relative, isn't it? God, this room looks just like the kind of room you would have. In the way that your dorm room and your room at home look totally different, but both exactly yours, this one is notably yours too. The decoration is all your style, the way you've arranged things, and the way things have just been abandoned in places like Solux tends to do. He just uses things or fiddles with things, and then puts them down wherever he happens to be. Bro can drag you back here, but you're not going to just bow down and do whatever he says. Fuck that. Is there any way to get out of here? You ask Nepeta, instead of discussing how well this is or isn't going to go for you. If you started from here with Solux, then you did get out once. Can't you do it again? Nepeta shifts uneasily from one foot to another, her eyes roving over the lake of lava that surrounds the building you're in. No, not for you, I don't think. You've left before, of course, but if Bro says you're staying here, then I don't think you can leave, she tells you. You're just opening your mouth to ask her how you left when you could leave, and then finding out why she thinks you can't do that now when you're interrupted. A distant, agonized scream runs through the air. That probably shouldn't be unusual, since this is hell after all, but you get the feeling that it was in this building. Oh, wow, he actually told him your message. I'd have just waited and come back, Nepeta says with a wince. That scream was... You trail off in horror. Zebra, yeah, people don't usually say no to Bro twice, not unless they're really important, Nepeta says. Her green eyes weigh on you. You don't know if she's judging you for sending him back with that message, or if that's just your guilt talking. It could be either. I have to get out of here. I have to, you whisper. Panic is building in your chest, and the energy of it forces you to your feet. You quickly walk across the room and open the door. There's an empty hallway of light gray stone out there, and beyond that, who knows, but it's not here, and that's what counts. Dave, no, don't. I'm supposed to keep you alive and keep you in here. You can't go, Nepeta says and grabs your arm. Then come with me instead. Say fuck it to this whole place and leave. You don't want to end up like that guy, right? You ask her. What I want isn't the point. Sure, I'd rather not be here doing this, keeping you locked up, but if I don't, I'll get killed, and I don't want that even more, so you can't go, she retorts. I'm not sure you could actually stop me, you point out. You froze time earlier. How could she stop you? You pull your arm from her and start walking off, really hoping that she'll come to her senses and follow you. The sound she makes is small, but the sheer terror in the tiny squeak from behind you makes you stop. You turn around and stumble back in fear. Nepeta is stuck in place with that horrible puppet monster draping one long noodly arm over her shoulders. His face is grinning a porcelain rictus, and his painted blue eyes lock onto yours as he moves one hand just an inch or so. Nepeta gasps, and you see her arm dent a little under the pressure, and realize that he has her in place with puppet strings. His hand moves a little more, and olive blood drips down her arm. Your feet carry you back one more step, and then two. On the third, you stumble into something. Your shoulders impact something firm that hadn't been there before, and in sheer terror you scramble back towards Nepeta and turn to face whatever you just bumped into. It's Bro. This time he's not 10 feet tall, maybe closer to 7 and a bit, which is still decently taller than you, and you're not exactly short. His face is also dripping green blood now, but it doesn't do a lot to negate the terrifying aura that he gives off. Fuck off, he repeats, his tone entirely flat. You swallow thickly and resist the temptation to look back at Nepeta and Cal. Something tells you that taking your eyes off him is a terrible idea, as is giving any indication that you give a shit if Nepeta lives or dies. You might not know her well, but she did stop you freezing, and she seems nice at least. Not that you need to be nice to deserve not being murdered by an evil animated puppet. You dig deep for courage and find some. Probably not enough, so you're just going to have to front the rest. I said what I said, you say back, just keeping the tremor out of your tone. Either you finally got some guts up there, or you got dumber. Roof. Now, Brone says sternly. You're just opening your mouth to protest, to say you're not going anywhere with him, when there's a flash of magenta and orange light, and all at once you're somewhere else. Looking around, you, in nervous glance, you see that you appear to be on the top of some castle roof, or just a tower of a castle. It's pretty wide in all directions. Cal appears in a flash of red, still holding Nepeta hostage. Or at least he's still holding her until Bro fixes him with a look. You guess he didn't mean for Cal to bring Nepeta along. The puppet laughs and tosses Nepeta off of the roof, which proves alarming for a split second until you realize that she can fly like Solux and sensibly zips off to safety through the air. Well, good. A scrape of steel chills your blood, and when you glance back to Bro, you see him standing there, sword in hand. What really throws you is that his whole demeanor is so unaffected, as if none of this means anything to him. If he's intending on attacking you, he doesn't look angry about it, or vengeful. It's as if none of it even registers. For a moment, you're not sure whether to take a sword out as well or not, but the idea of being entirely unarmed very much alarms Solux, so you think you'd better take one out. The sword that your past self stole from him seems like a poor choice, so you're left with the Snoopy Snowcone sword, but it's better than nothing, so you may as well use it. You hold the sword awkwardly. Sure, you used it before to remove the fake hand from June's fiddle holding table, but that wasn't moving or especially precise. You don't know how to sword fight. At best, you've seen it in movies, but it's been a long time since you saw The Princess Bride, and it seemed pretty goddamn hard in that. Bro looks you up and down, but makes no comment or gives any indication as whether he approves or not. Also, Cal's deranged laughter from the other side of the roof is not helping at all. Bro starts to circle you, calmly walking around, and you carefully turn to follow him. It seems like planting your feet right is important. That's how it is in sports, yeah? Without warning or preamble, Bro darts towards you, and out of some instinct, you grab the universe and slow it down. He's still crazy fast, but you slow it just enough so you're able to crash the flat of your sword to his. Time catches up with a jerk, and the snow cone part of your sword haphazardly ices a section of the roof beyond Bro. You stagger back and feel your wrist protest at the stress you just put it under. Whatever proper form is, that wasn't it. Why are you doing this? You ask. Maybe talking to him might... Oh, no. Now he looks annoyed. Instead of responding, Bro slashes at you once more. You badly parry one strike by fucking with time, but you're completely blindsided or by a sudden pain in your shoulder and over to your clavicle. You stagger back and look down. Your shirt is sliced open and you're starting to bleed. It's not the shoulder that connects to your dominant hand, which is something, but fuck, that hurts. Cal hoots in amusement, a noise that has you grinding your teeth in irritation. So no talking. Fine. Maybe you should attack first then. Switching from defensive to offensive, you run at him. You're probably holding the sword more like a baseball bat, but as long as you get him with a sharp or pointy part, that'll do, right? Bro flickers out of the way, so fast that you can only see where he was and then where he is now. You're going too fast though, and him not being there fucks your momentum up. You stagger, and when the sole of his shoe connects to your back, you fall completely. You manage to pull off a roll and get right back up, but it wasn't painless. The shoulder that got cut now has a skinned hand and an arm to go with it, and the elbow of your shoulder arm or of your sword arm is throbbing from banging on the stone as you rolled. At least you didn't stab yourself. You back up, facing Bro and dragging in a panicked breath after panicked breath. Bro starts to circle once more. You shift with him and desperately try to think. He's faster than you. Time is all you have on your side. This time when he attacks, you grab hold of time itself. Instead of freezing it, you skip forward. You don't have much control, but you think you just about managed to vanish for a second or two, enough to not be there when he tries to stab you. At least you're finally using that. Not too scared. I dismember your familiar when you're gone now, huh? Bro sneers. Anger fuels you and you rush forward, trying to hurt him. His sword slices through yours like butter. He slams his fist into the side of your face, and the hilt of his sword makes the punch so much harder. You hit the ground hard, and this time you don't get up. Your ears are ringing, and you're seeing stars. Your vision only clears when he grabs you by the shirt and hauls you up. He actually looks angry now, and takes a step forward, still holding you off of the ground. Even though your feet aren't touching the ground, the moment they're over lava that surrounds the castle, you know about it. The heat is sudden and intense, even for this place. Out of sheer panic, you grip his wrist, and this only makes his face twist in disgust at you. And then, he throws you. You scream as you fall, both from fear and from how unbearably hot the air is. You hit the lava, and you get a second of unimaginable pain, and then it's all gone. You're not dead, but you're not here. Not now, at least. If your life was a long red cord going through time, you know there's a back from here and a forward. It's a tangled and looped, but it's there. Right now, at least, you don't seem to be able to occupy the space you were at, or the when you were at. It leaves you nebulous and weird, hazy and undefined and untethered. You dissipate like fog and condense bit by bit into another when, clinging to another you as he follows the path that eventually leads to where you just were. Your name is Dave Strider, and you are 5 years old. Today is like all days. You wander the castle, ever aware of the eyes watching you from the darkness, from attacks that come from above and for traps laid out for you. You go outside and watch the demons doing their work. They technically have to do what you say, but you ordering people around both feels wrong and makes Bro mad at you. You've not earned the right to order anyone to do anything, so you don't. Still, people talk to you. You peer at a man surrounded by mirrors, sobbing as hard as he can. Well, what are the mirrors doing? You ask one of the demons nearby. He's hearing and seeing everything bad anyone has ever done about, or anyone ever thought about him. That and all the stuff he did from other people's point of view. The demon answers casually. Oh, that's interesting. You kind of wish he wasn't crying so much, but it's better than when you walk past and see someone getting their skin removed. That's gross. Then again, maybe if the guy had been better, the things people thought about him might make him happy, right? The demon besides you goes rigid in the way that demons do when they're trying to keep still so they're not seen. Not that it works. It definitely doesn't work for you. You turn around reluctantly and see Cal towering over you. Tensed up, you wait for him to attack you, but he doesn't. He just stares at you for far too long and then vanishes in a flash. Okay, not a random strife. He's trying to tell you that Bro wants you. You wave goodbye to the demon who was talking to you and hurry back to the castle. Bro doesn't like to be kept waiting. You teleport as far as you can see, or as far as you can see each time. If you just teleport right into the castle, you know there'll be a trap there, so instead you stick with where you can physically see to. Once you make it inside the impressively warm castle tower, you hurry up the million fucking stairs until you make it to the top level that houses basically everything either of you use. Instead of going to your room, which you'd rather definitely do, you go to Bro's chamber. That's where he does all his evil planning and making horrible stuff, and beyond it, his bed is in another room. You nudge the door open and peek inside to find Bro staring out the window at, you guess, the lava lake? But maybe he can see beyond to the whole plane, or who knows what. It's easier to assume Bro can see everything in hell. Safer, too. You wanted me? You ask, keeping the nerves out of your voice. Bro gestures slightly for you to come in, so you do. The door bangs shut behind you, and you don't turn around to look at it. There's no way Cal isn't hanging from it, grinning at you. You need to make a familiar, Bro says as he turns to face you. Like Cal? You ask uneasily. You don't want anything like Cal near you, ever. You don't want Cal near you, ever, but that's not up for debate. Make whatever. You will use your rib to make it, Bro instructs you. My rib? But you trail off. You're using your ribs. They do things. Bone things. You're pretty sure you need them. You're a god. Your body is negotiable and permeable with a strong enough idea and will. Just remove it. You need to use a rib. It has symmetry with the other side, Bro says vaguely. The other side of my ribs? You ask in confusion. The other side of us, holy and unholy, Adam's rib, your rib, Bro says sharply. Apparently a dumb question, and you shouldn't ask something else dumb, or he might get really mad. How do I make one? What does it need to be? You ask. He said you could make whatever, but he probably means it doesn't have to look like Cal. A familiar is a shard of your soul. With a complete and functioning shard, a god can recover from almost anything. Things that would kill a god without a familiar. If heaven tries to stop my plans by killing you, this will stop them, Bro says. You think he's more pleased at the fact that he's outsmarting heaven than actually caring that you understand. Not that he seems pleased or anything. He never does. The door squeaks behind you, and a quick glance shows you that Cal has opened it and is hanging over the top with a grin. You're excused, and if you make him tell you that you're excused, he'll probably kick you down the stairs. You hurry out of the room, rolling as you go through the door to duck the swipe Cal swings at you. You hurry down the stairs and back out of the castle. There's no arguing with Bro. You have to do what he says, and it's so certain that you will that he doesn't even bother threatening you. No, do it or else, because obviously there's an or else. You wander through hell with your arms wrapped around yourself. You can feel your ribs, and somehow soon you're going to have one less. You need help, and you need answers. You won't be getting any of that here anytime soon. Hell is winding and strange in its geography, arranging itself as it pleases, and expanding all the time. All the same, you know your way to where you're going through landmarks. First, you make your way through the assignment tracking area, notable humans who Hell is working on corrupting or who have made deals with demons. A group of succubi giggle together as assignments are handed out, and you spy Latula, who blows you a kiss and waves you over. Or waves at you. If she wasn't working, you'd ask her for a lift to where you're going, because he's always fun to hang out with, but she's on the clock, so she can't. After that, you keep your eyes fixed on the legal sphere. You try to keep a quick pace through this place. The demons here really don't appreciate your curiosity and questions when they're trying to make their cases. Some will talk to you, but it's better not to take the chance. From there, you skirt the edges of the areas set to torture people with isolation, an endless looping area that they wander without ever seeing anyone. Sometimes demons pop in and torment them as visions, but mostly this is one of those areas that the demons in charge have described as set it and forget it. The humans do all the work themselves. You don't like it, but usually you can skirt the edges of it without ever seeing anyone, and that's a lot better than most areas that are for punishing humans. The added bonus of Isolation Area is because its size is so wonky and changing, it's always right on the edges of hell, and that makes for a great shortcut. You wouldn't recommend it. One wrong step and you could be wandering a long-ass time, but if that happens to you, then there's always teleporting back to the castle and accepting you'll end up in a trap. The stone walls bordering hell are impossibly high, and there's no way anyone could climb them. They're also super thick and made of material that heals itself over time if you could damage it. Absolutely everyone knows that you can't get through them, which is why no one ever checks. Finally, you spy a big crack in the mortar. It's already healing, but it's still crackling with green fire. You grin and get down on your hands and knees to crawl through the space. About halfway through, just when the light behind you has shrunk to almost nothing, you find it. A bone easily the size of your arm shoved in the hole. The gap is wider and taller here, so you can just grab the bone off the floor and drag it with you out of the wall. When you finally get out to the other side, you look up at the crackling wall. Green fire is still burning in deep claw gouges in the stone, and the dirt is all dug up with deep trenches disturbing the earth below. A bassy growl fills the air, a thunder of feet and the snapping of terrible jaws. With some effort, you pick the bone up and hold it aloft in one hand. You bring the other to your mouth and whistle loud and clear. A hellhound easily 10 times your size hurtles toward you out of the dark mist that lingers at the edges of hell, the jaws on all 3 of its heads snapping, fiery eyes wild, and acidic drool sizzling when it hits the floor. You toss the bone to the hellhound, and it catches it with the mouth of its middle head. It chomps on it ferociously, teeth sinking into the white bone. "Is that nice? Is that good, huh?" you ask with a laugh and walk over to the hellhound. It flops on its side so you can reach up and rub its belly, making its back right leg twitch in delight. There's a thick chain around its neck with a big tag on. You reach for it and turn it so you can read it. Mr. Fuzzles is engraved deeply in the metal. Oh, you hadn't recognized him. He must have shed his venom quills, huh? "Are you shedding, Mr. Fuzzles? Are you?" you ask and dig your fingers into the fur at its chest. One head ducks down and decides to answer your question by licking you with its giant green tongue. "Let's go," you laugh. Mr. Fuzzles rolls over, so he's laying on his belly, and paws and waits for you to climb up on the chain around his neck. When you're settled just in front of his shoulders, he gets up and happily trots off. The rightmost head has the bone now, and the middle one seems to be pouting about it, so to make him feel better, you stand up and reach forward to scratch at the middle head's ears. It doesn't take long to get where you're going when you're riding a giant hellhound, and you think Mr. Fuzzles takes a few shortcuts anyway. Either way, it's not long at all before you get to Matuna's home. You know it shouldn't really be his home. You know he's banished and supposed to be suffering out here alone, but it doesn't really work out quite like that. He's been punished for disobeying Bro, but given that he also disobeyed Heaven, you think Bro doesn't especially care what he does out here. Either that, or he really can't see out this far. You don't know. The point is that Matuna has a little home out here for himself. Matuna's house is relatively small, just one room. He made it from what he could scrape off of the wall and powder from bones that the hellhounds crushed up with their teeth. That sounds kind of gross and shabby, but it's not. Matuna's little home has books smuggled in by his quadrants, a little bed, and small magical lights. It's cozy and safe, and by far your favorite place you've ever been. At the moment, Matuna is sitting outside, brushing out one of the hellhounds with a large metal claw that really gets the undercoat out. The blankets from his homes are created from the fiber that he made from the fur, and when you asked him about it, all he said was that everything else he owned was always covered in fucking hellhound fur, so why not do it? "Hey kid," Matuna greets you without looking up. You hop down from Mr. Fuzzle's back and walk over to him. "He molted," you ask, or you say excitedly. "Mm-hmm. He's getting bigger, huh?" Matuna nods as he picks up a huge file and starts to sharpen up his hellhound's claws. "Not as big as her. How long until puppies?" you ask curiously as you look over the larger tummy of this hellhound. You've been aware of Missy's incoming puppies for what seems like forever, but you're too excited to keep waiting. "A little longer. She doesn't want to give them up so soon, it seems. Can't blame her, since I had to give one of her pups away." Matuna sighs. "You what? When?" you gasp. "There were puppies and you didn't know?" "Oh, this was before you were around, but yeah, in a week or so we might have some," Matuna nods. You pet her tummy carefully. You really wish you could take one back with you, but it's a dumb idea. If you brought something living back that you cared about, Ro would just kill it to teach you a lesson. Besides, they're better out here with their own kind. "It's so weird how they make new hellhounds," you say, and press your ear to her. "Yeah, but it's not that different from how you were made. You're human-born, remember?" Matuna says, waving the file at you. "Gross," you grimace, and Matuna shrugs. "So what's going on for the coolest kid in hell, huh?" he says. He asks and winks at you. "I'm the only kid in hell, but, you hesitate, and Matuna notices it right away. He pats the dusty floor by him, and you sit down. "Bro says I have to take one of my ribs out and make a familiar," you tell him. "Oh, ouch," he winces. "I don't even know how to do that. I can probably grab my rib if I think really hard about the idea of it, but how do I make a person? Have you ever made a person?" you ask. "No, but I know how it's done. I've seen people do it. I guess you don't have much of a choice, huh?" He sighs and sets the file down. Missy sniffs curiously at him, but decides to stay flopped down on the ground where she is anyway. "The first thing is that you have to give up something to make someone. So you're giving up a rib, but since you're a god making a familiar and not a demon making another demon, it's a bit more than that. It'll have connection to you through your blood and body because of the rib, but you give it part of your soul too," Matuna says seriously. "My soul?" you squeak. "Just a little bit. You're not just making someone. You're making a part of yourself to be alive independently of you. It's okay though, you're only little, so you're still growing as a person anyway, so I doubt it'd have any big effect on who you are. From what you've told me and what I've seen, I don't think Cal does great things for Bro's sanity, but you'll do better. You need to think of what you want this person to be, what their purpose is, and what you're giving them," Matuna explains. "It sounds like this is gonna suck," you say unhappily. "Yeah," Matuna agrees softly. "But hey, at least you'll have someone to talk to when you're not here." "Do you think they'd want to talk to me?" you ask. You try to be strong and independent because you know that the demons in hell can't help you and Bro doesn't like you, so the idea that anyone but Matuna might want to talk to you is strange. Not bad, but strange. "Of course," Matuna laughs brightly. "Hey, Tuna, tell me about Earth again," you plead, tugging on his arm. You almost always ask him to tell you about Earth, or about things that happened with him and Signless. Matuna hums thoughtfully. "How about I tell you about this time Kanaya punched a guy in the market?" You gasp in delight. You like hearing about Silence's family. Matuna's family, really. The idea of having a sister is so nice. And having parents that love you, it's crazy. You really like hearing about Kanaya, though, because a lot of her stories are from when she was younger, so she's more like you. Alright then, Matuna grins. He picks up Missy's paw again and starts to file as he tells you all about it. An hour or two later, you have to go back. You can't be gone too long, or else Bro is really angry when you eventually return. Not to mention, if you never came back, he'd probably kill Matuna, and you can't stand that. You walk back to the crack in the wall with several hellhounds following you. When they see that the crack has got too small, they bark angry green fire into it until it burns away enough for you to get through. You leave, but only after petting each one a goodbye, of course. You can't forget that. When you get back to the castle, you find that there's no Bro or Cal waiting for you, and no more traps than you'd usually find. Maybe less, actually. He must really want you to focus on making your familiar. Somewhat reluctantly, you return to your room and close the door. You cross the messy floor and crawl onto your bed. Rolling onto your back, you let your hands rest on your stomach and quietly feel for your ribs. Would it be better to take the lowest one out, or a middle one? A lower one is probably better. They're smaller, and you assume the stuff they protect isn't as vital as the ones higher up. Your gut squirms as you think about how much taking it out is going to hurt, and you quickly avoid the thought of thinking about what kind of familiar you want to make. They're supposed to protect you and revive you if you die, right? That'd be good to have around Bro. Still, you don't want anything like Cal, anything that delights in hurting things. You definitely want them to be able to talk to you because, like Matuna said, you're going to be talking to them a lot. So you want them to be able to talk back to you. Whoever you make needs to be powerful, especially if they're standing up to Bro. You're going to have to give up more than just a rib. You could give up flight and teleportation. Those are big things. Besides, if your familiar is going to be with you the whole time, then they can just carry you, right? You've got to do it. You have to. Bro won't accept you putting it off, and he'll be pissed if you do. Rolling over, you get onto your hands and knees and crawl up to the headboard of your bed. You toss the pillows aside and then settle your back against the headboard. Well, the stuff you shoved between the bed and the wall, but whatever. You'd rather sit down for this. If you stood and ripped your rib out, you could black out from the pain and then hit the floor face first, and you really don't want that. Nerves bubble inside you, and you try to ease them by taking the watch out of your chest, your hand slipping easily through your skin. See? You can take things out of yourself. You're fine. You just need to grab the idea of your rib. Yeah, easy. You put your watch back in your chest and move your hand to your rib. You don't want to do this, but you gotta. Man, it'd be easier if you had the familiar now to help you instead of doing this shit on your own. If you had someone who would watch your back when you're focused on something so you weren't worried about getting jumped when you're just trying to do something like this. You just want someone. You want someone like Matuna who likes you and is nice to you. You want someone who's not going to be made to attack you, someone who's on your side. All you want is someone to keep you safe, to be your friend. You never had a friend, not unless you count Matuna, and he's way older than you. You grit your teeth and decide you need to get this over with. If you keep thinking about it, you'll just psych yourself out and not do it, and then Bro will be very unhappy. Ribs and the insides of humans aren't exactly unfamiliar to you. You know what they look like and what to picture. You know the concept that you're grasping for with it, to make it more than just bone. A part of your body, a part of your soul, and everything you want from this. Your hand sinks through your skin, and it's nothing like putting your hand in your chest to get your watch. This hurts. It hurts so bad your vision whites out, but you have to keep going. You cling to your desperate hope of making someone who can be what you need and giving up what you have to in order to get there. Your hand closes around your rib and you topple over as everything fades. The world around you swims into focus, and a hand on your side startles you enough that you flail about, trying to get Cal off of you. Only it's not Cal. Not at all. You're halfway to sitting up, and you find yourself face with the face of a boy. A demon boy. He's wearing yellow and black with Matuna's symbol on him. He's got 4 eyes, but they're just as red and blue as Matuna's are. "You're hurt," he says, his hand touching your side. Looking down at the place where your hand went into your chest, it's bleeding, obviously. The boy's hands move over your side and magically stitch the wound together. You look back up at him in shock. You've always done that for yourself since Bro never did it. Opening your mouth, you have every intention of asking him who he is, but you don't need to. You know. You just made him. He pulls his hand back and looks at you expectantly, like he's waiting for you to do or say something. Hi. Thanks, you manage to say. It's okay, the familiar nods. Do you have a name? You ask, but instead of answering, your familiar looks at you like you're making some kind of joke. You haven't given me one, he points out, seemingly working out that you are serious. Solux. This is how I got Solux. For just a moment, your mind drifts as some weird thought flickers through your head, but you liked it. Solux. What about Solux? You suggest. It's whatever you want to call me, so he starts with a shrug. No, I don't want to call you something that you don't like. You could be Solux or something else, or, I guess those are only two choices, right? You stumble over your words, and for the first time, the demon laughs. Yeah, pretty much. I kind of like how Solux sounds, though. What about a last name? Yours would be what people expect, but he grins knowingly when you pull some kind of face at that idea. But what about Matuna's last name? Captor? You remember Matuna? You ask. I know everything you know, Solux snorts. The smile falls off of your face. You have to show him to Bro. You know what Bro's going to do. He'll attack him just like he attacks you. You brought him into existence, and all he's going to do is, or all he's going to get is hurt. Well, why did you do this? What's wrong? Solux asks with a little frown. I can't show you to Bro. He's just gonna hurt you, you whisper back in shock. If you don't show up with me, then you've not done what he told you to, or that's what he'll think, or he'll find out you were trying to lie to him. Either way, that sucks for you, Solux points out. Yeah, but, you start. No, I'm going with you, Solux insists, and takes your hand in his. His hand is so warm and nice. It's the same size as your hand, too. It's just nice. I thought familiars were supposed to do what the people who made them said, you say. Cal always seems to do everything to Bro's approval. Even just a slight movement of his head is enough instruction to send that thing off on whatever he needs to do. Do you want that? Solux asks. You don't want him to be anything like Cal. You don't want to control anyone like how Bro controls everything in your life. You won't do that to someone else. You shake your head, and Solux nods like that settled that. Looking him over again, you notice that he's got kind of a theme going on. His eyes are doubled. He's got 2 longer canine teeth on each side, and he's even got 2 tails. Not to mention his horns are in double sets like Matuna's are. You've got 2 tails, you point out. Yeah, I think you were thinking of 2 different kinds of things when you made me. So I'm both, Solux shrugs. It's weird that he's aware of how you made him, but then maybe it's weird that you don't know anything about where you came from. You know your mother was human, and that's literally all you know. You're not sure what to do, but you know you have Solux to you know you have to show Solux to Bro, that there's no getting around it, so better sooner than later. We should probably... You trail off. Solux hops off the bed and waits. When you get up too and start to walk to the door, he follows you. You can kind of feel his presence around you, the direction that he's in. It's comforting in a way. You're not alone now. The 2 of you walk the dark corridors to Bro's chambers. You don't want to go, but what you want to do doesn't much matter here. When you arrive at the imposing door, you reach up and knock, measuring just how you do it. Too loud and you're going to annoy. Too soft and you'll seem meek, and that'll be bad for you as well. Cal is the one who pulls the door open, leering down at you with his shiny blue eyes and permanent grin. His head turns to look at Solux, and he snaps upwards, whirling around bonelessly to look at Bro, who must be further inside. Moving on some command you didn't hear, Cal walks into the room with the strong implication that you ought to follow. You and Solux both walk in the room. Bro is sat at his desk, flipping through papers intently. He pins one to a board, and then looks up from his desk to the 2 of you. He watches you without expression for several long seconds, long enough that you're weighing whether you should explain who and what Solux is. Bro stands up before you speak, though, and walks over. Solux's hand tightens in yours, and he steps forward ever so slightly, putting himself between you and Bro just a little. He's not right in front of you or anything, just a little. Just enough. Bro leans down and peers at Solux. Solux just stares back. His hand grasps Solux by the chin and turns his head one way and then the other. Is he approving? Is this not what he wanted you to do? You've no way of knowing because he's not telling you. Roof, Bro simply says, making your heart sink. You pull Solux out of the room, just turning to go up to the roof, when all at once you're somewhere else. Red and blue smoke clears, and you realize that you're in the kitchens. The imps that work here look at you in surprise, but they don't stop you or Solux as he hurries over to the fridge and opens the door. He jumps back away from the falling swords, and when they've clattered to the ground, he rummages through them until he can pick out a few that he deems good enough. It's not like anyone will miss them. The fridge just generates weapons endlessly. You can get it to make custom things if you input the right stuff, but it mostly does what it wants. What are you doing? You ask him. If you're not on the roof in good time, you'll be in so much trouble. We need to fight, and I don't have any weapons. If I make something myself, he might be able to unmake it. These be better. Can't show up without a sword, Solux answers as he stows the weapon away in his void. You shouldn't have to fight him. I'm pretty sure he wants to fight me, you tell him. If someone has a fight with you, then they have a fight with me too. I'm fighting him, Solux insists. He'll kick your ass, you exclaim. That's what I'm for, Solux shrugs. No, I don't want you to take my fights and my pain instead of me. You don't deserve that. I'm not making you do that, you tell him urgently. You dragged him into this, and you never should have. You don't deserve it either, he says simply. What are you supposed to say to that? Solux reaches out and takes your hand. He gives it a squeeze to reassure you, and then you're both on the roof. Bro is, of course, waiting for you. You draw your sword, and Solux does the same. Bro seems interested in this, and you're not sure that you like that. Either way, Bro doesn't waste any time attacking you, but this time, Solux helps you. He deflects more attacks than you could by yourself, and even when Bro swings for him, you're able to cover him at least a little. Of course, you both still get your asses kicked. You're both left breathless, bruised and bleeding on the roof, but it's not as bad as it sometimes is. Does Bro approve of Solux, or does he think you fucked up? Does he think getting him to help you in the fight is cheating? Who knows? With a grunt, you sit up and rub your sore arm and pick grit off of your skinned elbow. You crawl over to Solux, who is quickly healing from a scrape on his face, but it still looks like it stings. Are you okay? You ask him, and brush the dirt from his hair. I'm fine. Are you? I'll be okay, you answer him. The last scrape on Solux's face heals to nothing, and you carefully reach out to him. You wrap your arms around his shoulders and hug him close. Matuna's hugged you before, Latula as well, but never someone your own size and age. Thanks for having my back. I'll have yours too, I promise, you whisper. Solux's hands go tight on your side as he holds onto you, even the one that's missing a rib. Or, not missing. It's somewhere far better now, because you have him now. A feeling crawls over you, like pulling a sticker from its backing sheet, but as if your soul was both the sticker and the sheet. You are Dave Strider on the roof, but you're also Dave Lalonde, condensing like steam on glass into being an older someone in a later somewhere. It's hot, and your body is nebulous at best, but you pull yourself along, and out of instinct, with each inch you move, taking you further from the roof in time. You form together like sand in the bottom of an hourglass, like stacked sheets in a page-a-day calendar, like a recording of a ticking clock. Your seconds and milliseconds form into cells and bones, minutes into muscles, until you crawl onto the hot but blessedly solid stone. You breathe, choking a little on the air as you do it for the first time. The world around you is spinning, and all you can do is lay there in place, trying to breathe and cope with existing again. After an amount of time has passed, you see blue cat-like feet hurry towards you, only to be replaced by knees on the stone beneath you as whoever it is kneels down. Dave, oh, thank hell you're okay. I've been looking all over the lava shore for you, a girl's voice says. Her hand rolls you over onto your back, and you blink up at her, at Nepeta. You got away, you mumble as if the thought occurs. Were you worried about me? She asks in surprise. You seem nice, you wince partway through the sentence as your whole body throbs in pain. Nepeta just stares at you in shock. You don't want him to catch you again. He caught me. I don't recommend it. You laugh weakly and wince at the pain the movement causes. Oh, I'm sorry you got thrown in the lava. Can you move? Nepeta asks, leaning over you. You try to move, to get up on your own 2 feet, but you're weak as a lamb right now. Instead, Nepeta sweeps you up in her surprisingly strong arms, and to your mortification, you yelp and cling to her. All you need is a flouncy dress and one of those cone hats with the gauze coming off of the end, and you'll be a real damsel in distress here. I've got you, Nepeta assures you, and in a flash, you're back in the room that you started in. Nepeta sets you back on your feet and you stumble onto your bed, falling onto it haphazardly on top of the sheets. You were just here, weren't you? I was back in time, you say in a whisper. You time-traveled back again? Nepeta asks. Yes. No? You frown. You can hear in your head how Solux would say it's both, and just that thought stings something awful. I was actually me at an earlier point in time. Not another me there watching a younger me, but I was that kid, you explain, as your hand drifts to your side to the place where your rib once was and is no longer. I'm not really sure how you do any of that, if I'm honest, Nepeta admits. You press your fingers into your side, the dip that you've always had there and thought nothing of for the entire span of your memory. But now you've got no rib and no Solux. You miss him so much. Everything hurts when you think that he's not coming back. He'd know what to say to help you, to make you feel better. He'd help you escape this. But not anymore. And for the first time in a very long time, you're all alone. Meanwhile, on the surface, at the edge of a property that doesn't appear on any map. Poor car, Solux says softly, looking at it from your place a little way back in the woods, just in sight of the road. It looks fine to me, you tell him. It's cut off from Dave like I am, Solux explains. You hesitate, frowning at the slip of the car that you see through the trees. Solux has a better view, you think. Or maybe he's using his little eyes to see through the trees to the car. Who the fuck knows? All you know is it's not on fire and all the wheels seem to be still on, which is your definition of fine for cars. The car isn't sentient, is it? You ask slowly. Define sentient, Solux says, in the least reassuring response. How about you just tell me what it is instead, you reply. It's maybe about as smart as a fish. It's not alive, but it's magically animated a bit. You can take your hands off the controls and it'll keep going where it's meant to reasonably accurately. It can park itself just fine. It picks up radio stations sometimes. It's like semi-sentient, Solux explains. So, is it in pain now? No, it can't feel pain, but it's not happy about this either, he tells you. Beck bounds up to you both and stuffs his snout in Solux's hand, earning him a good amount of pets from the clearly smitten Solux. Jade hurries around a tree towards you both. Clearly, Beck had run ahead. We're having something of a problem back there. Maybe you can help? Jade asks. She leads you both back towards the house, or rather to the edge of what is counted as the property, seeing as the house is further in. Roxy is standing on a tree root, looking ahead with fear on her face. It's okay, Mom, Rose says gently. What's the worst that could happen? The world ends? Terezi says with a grin. She's leaning against a tree, just watching Roxy as she wrestles with whether to cross the property line or not. You look behind Roxy and see June a little further back, closer to the house. You hope she'll be okay here on her own. You really hope nothing happens when no one else is there with her, but then again, she is a god. She can probably handle herself. Roxy whispers to herself, looking down at the floor and edging her foot ever so slightly closer. Dave needs us, Mom, Rose reminds her. You can't let his father keep him, not after everything. Are you really going to let him win after you've got this far? Terezi adds. Roxy clenches her jaw, takes a deep breath, and steps forward. She crosses the property line into the rest of the woods for what you can assume is the first time since she returned home with a newborn Rose. She clenches her hands into a tight fist and starts to march onwards, once lagging back, but now leading the way. See you later, June, Solux says quietly. Yeah, if you need to get in touch with me, you can use this as a focus, June says, and materializes a small box out of the air. She tosses it to Solux, who thankfully manages to catch it. Be safe, yeah, you say to her. If I gotta, go on, get driving. It's gonna be a real trip, I bet, June says and shoos you off. You turn and walk through the forest towards the car. The others have reached it before you, and Roxy seems to have shaken off her fear at leaving the protected property and is now peering under the hood of the car. Rose is at her side, and since Solix is talking to Jade about keeping Beck in the car, you decide to join the Lalondes. Coming to stand at Rose's side, you look down into the inner workings of the car, which look normal to you. You're not really a car person. Back in Georgia, you just walked or took the bus, sometimes an Uber if you had something big to carry back from a store or whatever. In Salem, you walked or took the bus. You kind of know how cars work in that you know the gears change, that gas goes in, and something internal combustion engine. Look, you can fly. Cars aren't really your concern. All the same, you look into this car for a moment and start to notice something strange. All the parts you can see look very definitely like a car part, or car parts. There are pipe bits, gear parts, cables of various sorts, yet none of it seems to be right. You can see several parts that just plain aren't connected to anything, and lots of looping of pipes and wires that, while they look convincingly like they belong, can't possibly do anything. What the fuck? You whisper. Oh, that. Dave doesn't really know much about cars. Still works, though, Solix says, casually glancing your way and going back to this conversation. How did this possibly, you whisper in disbelief. You knew it'd drive. It knew it could drive. There was faith. Roxy shrugs. Actually, this sounds and looks exactly like the kind of shit I'd expect from Dave. He'd probably do just as bad of a job trying to recreate a sport from memory, you groan. I would like to see what he'd do there now, Rose says, flashing you a smile. Roxy draws in and then slowly lets out a deep breath. It doesn't sound like this doesn't sound like it's much, but she immediately has the full attention of both of you and Rose. Roxy holds her hand over the engine of the car, and a pink disc of light forms under her palm. The inner workings of the car are bathed in a soft pink light, and like bubbles drifting up through water, you can see demonic letters rising to the surface of the light, arranging themselves around the edge of the disc. The letters are glowing red, and though you can't read demonic just yet, you can pick out a few symbols. One that jumps out at you is the one that you associate with Solux. Another is a stylized O with a jagged lightning bolt shape through it. For some reason that feels familiar to you as well. Can you change it? Rose asks. The car runs now, but if anything much happened to it, it could easily break or run out of power. It needs a new tether. It can be added without editing the original spell. Roxy nods. You're saying we're lucky to be able to drive this... You're saying we were lucky to be able to drive home in this, Rose asks, and Roxy nods. Well, that's an unsettling thought, but you're going to count that as one thing that could have gone horribly wrong, and thankfully didn't. You're not getting a lot of those lately, so you're going to count your blessings where you can. Roxy whispers in quiet demonic, and you watch as she adds onto the end of the spell. Presumably adding a clause where it's, this car works like this, powered by Dave, becoming, this car works like this, powered by Dave or by Rose. Obviously, it's more complex than that, but that's the feeling you're getting here. Roxy releases the spell and Rose gasps. She stumbles to the side and you steady her, worried that she might fall over. The car's engine revs loudly, and the hood snapping shut with a metallic clang. The paint on the car ripples and shifts from bright fire truck red to a deep purple. The frame melts and shifts to elongate the car slightly and make it more aerodynamic. The windows of the car, including the windscreens, smoke and tint totally black to the extent where you can't see inside at all. The rumble of the engine shifts into something deeper, and when the headlights come on, they're blindingly bright. Not so bright that you can't see the yellow underlighting to the car as well. It's different to Dave's iteration of the vehicle, but you'd be hard-pressed to describe it as subtle. Wow, they're completely see-through from the inside, Kanaya says, and opening the back left passenger door to peer through the window. Probably best that people can't see who we are. Oh, wow, Rose breathes. She's a little shaky, but seems fine. She purposefully saved you, even if it was instinctive, but as far as you can think, this must be the first time anyone has tethered anything to her power as a god. Rose keeps one hand on your shoulder and leans in to run her hand across the dark purple gleaming metal of the car. It purrs under her touch like an affectionate cat. I can feel it, not just physically, but psychically somehow, Rose says wondrously. You're interrupted by Beck suddenly barking up a storm at something down the road. He positions himself between all of you and whatever is down there as he barks and growls. What is it, Beck? Jade asks him as she somehow pulls a goddamn rifle out of her bag, because apparently Jade doesn't fuck around in situations like this. I'll go and... Oh, Great, I can't even fly anymore. Of course I can't. Solix hisses angrily. I'll see what it is. You tell the others and stretch your wings out. You allow yourself to slip from view and take to the air. Maybe you should worry about upsetting Solix by flying when he can't, but you think it'd be more of an insult to not do this out of some instinct to protect his pride and ego. That'd be way more offensive, surely. You fly down the road invisibly and see several cars driving towards you in what looks like a motorcade. At least 6 of them altogether, in equally bland cars. Dipping down lower, you curve through the air and get low enough that you can see through the window, but to your surprise, you don't see some angels or demon. No magical or mythical assassins at all. It's June's dad and the rest of the pseudo-men all heading towards your group. You flit through the air as quick as can be, reappearing and landing next to Rose. It's June's dad and his people. You tell them, sorry. They're on our side, Solix says simply. Then why is Beck barking? Kanaya asks, gesturing to the noisy hellhound. He's a magical and a hellhound. That doesn't mean he understands inner god politics and allegiances. He can just tell there's a whole lot of people coming this way who might be a threat, Solix says. He reaches down and soothingly pets the top of Beck's head until he stops growling. Jade tells Beck to sit, and he does so, although clearly reluctantly. The car crests over the curving hillside road and comes to a stop at what you would describe as a respectful distance from your group in your car. Beck keeps turning his head at Jade and Solix as if to ask if they're really sure that he can't attack them. Mr. Egbert gets out of the car and walks towards all of you, his posture polite but casual and his hands very clearly out and open and not holding anything dangerous. He greets the people he knows as he comes closer to the front of the car. Rose gives him a small wave, but she's obviously concerned about her mom. Miss Lalonde, it's a pleasure to meet you in person finally. I'm June's father. Mr. Egbert smiles and holds out his hand. I'm not shaking that, Rose says stiffly. She didn't get this far by shaking the hands of anyone who offered. She doesn't know who you are, or she doesn't know you're who you say you are, or that you're not trying to trick her, Terezi points out from the other side of the car. A fair point. Either way, June has told us of the journey you're planning to take, and from what I've seen on the news, it's getting pretty hairy out there. We'd like to offer you our service as an escort as far as we can. If anything is trying to slow you down and impede you, we'll take care of it for you, so you don't lose time between here and your goal to reach your son, Mr. Egbert explains. It's the end of the world. You really think you can handle what's out there? Roxy asks him dubiously. Mr. Egbert seems to consider this as he adjusts his tie for a moment, and then smiles. We're decently capable. I'm sure you can relate to how parenting a god requires some skill and creative problem solving. Besides which, if it's the end of the world, then what do I have to lose? I would sooner live by my god and protect you lovely ladies as best I can, as well as the 2 gentlemen, of course. Mr. Egbert adds that last part with a nod to Solix and you. Beck barks at him, and Egbert seems to think for a moment. The 3 gentlemen, perhaps? He ventures. I'm not sure if he's a gentleman, but he's something. Jade laughs and pets Beck. The idea of Beck wearing a little business tie appears in your brain with such suddenness and strength that it's almost like the idea hit you in the back of the head, like a baseball bat. You have to tell the others later and make this a reality. Roxy looks at Mr. Egbert and the pseudo-men, who are still in their assorted cars, and shrugs slightly. It's your funeral, not like I can stop you. You absolutely could, Terezi snickers. Yeah, well, but... Roxy flounders and shoots Terezi an exasperated, you know what I mean look, that you're more used to seeing on her daughter's face. What route were you planning on? Only one of my associates heard that there's a lot of unrest south of Lake Ontario, so it would probably be better to go through Canada, at least for part of your route, Mr. Egbert suggests. No, there's a lot of ley lines crossing through the I-90 between Syracuse and Rochester. Everything will be far too chaotic magically for us to be easily spotted. It's the safest, dangerous way through, Roxy tells him. Mr. Egbert seems to consider that for a moment before inclining his head a little in a respectful nod. South, then. I'll tell the others the plan. Rose, dear, I believe you have my number. Please do keep me apprised of any route changes, and don't worry, I'll have someone else watching my phone. I wouldn't use my phone and drive at the same time. Safety first, Mr. Egbert says responsibly. It's hard to believe this sensible dad is the leader of some chaotic trickster god following, the parent to a living god. He's just so normal. I will, of course, Rose agrees. With that, Mr. Egbert returns to his car, and Roxy gets into the driver's seat of your group's car. though you suppose it's Solux's car, even though it's currently running on Rose's power. She's also probably the only one of your group with a driver's license. Rose told you that Kanaya drove the car home, but given how vampires were treated up until recently, you doubt that she was able to have the right ID to get a license at all. Not that she can't drive, but more that she shouldn't. Then again, you imagine that the police will have more pressing things to worry about in the end of the world than unlicensed drivers. Solux, you're more familiar with this car. You should probably sit in the front with me and Mom, Rose suggests, and sure enough, there's enough room for 3 up there. You get in the back with everyone else and see it's laid out like a little taxi, in that there's seats that face backwards against the front seats, and a row that faces forwards. It gives back enough room to stretch out on the floor, and gives everyone in the back enough room to stretch their legs out, which you imagine will be appreciated after a while of driving. You sit backwards in the middle next to Terezi, with Kanaya and Jade facing you. Above you, there's a wide sunroof that, despite being totally tinted from the outside, is completely clear to yours. Roxy starts the car with a purr of the engine, and you see Mr. Egbert's car turn so that he's leading you out to the main road. As you pass each of the other cars, they turn around and join in behind you in a sneaking motorcade. The Lalonde house isn't the closest to the big roads, so it takes you a while of quiet, winding forest roads before you start merging into progressively more and more major ones. It seems for all the world like nothing is really wrong here. Like the ending of the world excuse me, just hasn't touched this place, but you know in your bones that it isn't true. You can feel the undercurrent of deeply unsettled magic, like the calm surface of water hiding a rip current beneath it. I think the boundaries between the Fae places and the rest are starting to break down. It's weird, Jade says in a hushed voice. Her face is nearly pressed to the window. Any plane not able to detach from this one is going to be dragged down with this one. It means the barriers start to fail. Solux applies from up front. Oh, great. So confused and angry ancient Fae being turned loose onto unsuspecting human populations. That sounds good. It's getting worse closer to the ley lines. I'm getting out to keep an eye out, Terezi says, and slides the sunroof open with a click of a button. Wait, let me come with you. Rose can watch through me, right? So I can show her what I see, you say as you hastily unbutton your seatbelt. That's a good idea, Mom. Rose checks and Roxy nods, just once. Terezi hops onto the seat and hauls herself out of the sunroof, onto her butt at first, but then pulls her feet up after her. You follow, sticking your head and shoulders out, and wait for her to move before you get out so you don't knock her off or anything. Terezi's form ripples, her magical clothing vanishing, so she's as naked as she was when you first met her. At first you want to look away, but this isn't really what she looks like, and she really doesn't care about the modesty of this form. It's not like you. The form you're in now is what you consider your default form, even though you really look far more unusual. Terezi clearly doesn't feel the same, so you keep your eyes on her and watch as dragon wings sprout from her back, smaller than normal, but big enough to launch her into the air, so she's far enough away for her real form to magically unfold. Her teal scales glitter in the sunlight as she roars, the sound thrumming through the air. And you can be louder. It's not impressive. With Terezi out of the way, you stand up more. You put a foot on the back of the seat in front and accidentally nudging Solux with your foot in the back of the head. It's really windy out here, so you take care when you get out not to lose your balance. You get your feet under you on the roof and jump, bursting into flight. Rose starts watching you as you catch an updraft and effortlessly float upwards. I should have worked out that something was weird when I wasn't freaked out when you flew me back to Salem before, you shout over the window to Terezi. Maybe, but that wouldn't have been as funny, would it? She says right into your mind, and her solidly red eyes glitter in amusement. Even if you could have told me, you wouldn't have, would you? You ask, drifting closer. Hey, there's the nice thing about having volume you can reach with your voice. It's easy to talk over the wind when you're flying. Nah, she snickers in the back of your skull. You roll your eyes and look down at the motorcade with Solux's purple car in it. You can see a glittering body of water just fading out on one side, and then start of a more inhabited area coming up. The air looks wrong over there. What's that? You ask, knowing better than to ask if Terezi can see it. Faye, looks like the humans aren't happy about the spillover. Yeah, you can bet. I'm going ahead, you tell Terezi, who nods and flaps her almighty wings in a movement so casual there's no way it should be able to keep her in the air. But of course, it does, because, well, magic. You sweep ahead on your wings, which really makes even less sense than hers in terms of flight capability, but anyone wishing to protest can take that up with Rose, and good luck to them. You sweep along the road with your eyes trained ahead to the greener areas off to the side, where the air seems wrong. Sure enough, trees are gnarled and look like they have eyes of their own watching you, and the whole area has the unsettling sense of observing that Winter had. If your mom can protect the cars from this at any point, I would think that'd be a good idea. You mutter to yourself, or more accurately, to Rose. Flitting onwards, you see a dead and bludgeoning Fae on the edge of the road and a barricaded house with what looks like iron railings all around it. The couple of houses nearby look empty, and you get the feeling that they're all hiding in the iron-protected one. You drift further onward, keeping your speed low enough for the others to catch up to you. As you're lingering in the air, you catch a flicker of movement. Something almost not there, but not so well hidden that you miss it. Or maybe Rose doesn't miss it? Who knows? Either way, you turn your head and see a Fae of some kind. More of a nature spirit type than Jade is. Its body seems to be made almost entirely of plant material, save its pristine face that could almost be carved from some smooth stone. It's a little way across from the fortified house, but it's looking at you instead. "We're just passing through," you say simply, and give it a respectful little nod. You're not going to stop it from whatever it's doing. You don't know who started this fight, and you don't have the time to resolve every dispute you come across in your cross-continental journey. You just need to get through. Terezi comes more easily into sight over the tree line, and there's a distant rumble of the incoming cars. The Fae seems to consider for a moment, and then nods back to you, melting back into the tree line, although you're sure it doesn't disappear. You don't fly ahead right away. Instead, you stay where you are in the air and wait for your motorcade of cars to pass just to be sure they'll be fine. You give the house a backwards glance as you leave, wishing you could do more, but knowing that you can't right now. All the same, you hope everyone will be okay on both sides. It takes no time at all to catch up to Terezi and the cars below as you continue on the town, or perhaps city, that you can see in the distance. You think it's most likely a town, but you're not exactly familiar with the area. There's a hesitant nudge on your psyche. It's weird. You can't say that it's anything like when you were compelled to do things on Kenkri's orders. If Kenkri's orders was a loud and clear demand, this is more like someone softly asking if you wouldn't possibly mind just doing something if that's not too much trouble, but don't worry about it if you can't. All the same, it's a very mild request to go lower to the cars, which you're more than happy to follow. You swoop down and catch hold of the edge of the sunroof with your hands, just so you can stay stable and level with it. "Carquette, you came. I didn't hurt you, did I?" Rose asks worriedly. "He'd have said if you did. Check the town ahead. It feels weird to me. It's rubbing my magic all weird," Solix says, leaning back to look at you. "Your doom magic?" You check. "Yeah, I know. Apocalypse. Very doomy to begin with, but I'm just saying," Solix explains. You nod and let go of the car, drifting back enough so you can beat your wings without smacking the car itself. You make quick work of the distance between the car and the town, and sure enough, the place does feel weird. It's too quiet. You pass several car accidents on the road, and you hope that Rose sees them to warn her mother and the others in good time. Drifting onwards, you hear sirens in the air, and so although you stick to the road, you know Roxy wants to follow. You drift closer to the sirens all the same. You pick out the blue flashing lights on the cars, and before long you can see exactly what's going on. The cop cars are parked around a road, essentially blocking it off, even though that doesn't look like their intent. There are people milling about casually. You've no idea what they're doing because this place is opposite. Because the place opposite just looks like a graveyard. There's a lot of people in that graveyard. Oh no. You hesitate, but knowing that you're the eyes of your group right now, you fly closer. Now you can see that the police cars are all but destroyed, and the figures wandering around are a mix between clearly mauled and now undead police officers, and the undead who appear to have been dead for a good deal of time. Zombies. Of course it's zombies. Just what today needed. You about turn and haul ass back to your group, actually running into Terezi mid-air in your haste. "It's zombies. There's zombies up there and they're blocking the road," you tell her in a panic. "Oh, I can deal with that. Hold on, nerd." "What? I can fly. I don't need to—" "Ah!" You yelp as Terezi bites at your clothes and uses her careful hold to flick you onto her back, where you land gracefully. You're saying it was graceful, and no one else but Rose witnessed, so it's the official story. fumbling yourself upright, seeing as you already gracefully standing on Terezi's back, you flutter up to her head and hold on to her horns as you watch her draw close to the town you just came from. The motorcade is well behind you both now. You can see it past Terezi's tail in the distance. What are you planning here? You ask her over the wind. You get no answer in terms of words, but you feel a rumbling through her scales. The ones on her neck flare out slightly with the faintest glow shining between them. Terezi swoops low towards the cars and the zombies around them, and you immediately realize what that rumbling and glow was, right around the same time that you become very glad you're immune to fire. Terezi opens her mouth and a jet of flame so hot it's just pure white heat spews forth. The whole area of the road, the nearby plant life, and a distressing amount of the cemetery are instantly consumed in catastrophic inferno. They have to drive through that, and do you even know, or how do you even know that there aren't any living people hiding in those cars? You demand, but Terezi chooses not to answer you. Fuck, either she knew there wasn't, or there was, and certainly isn't anyone alive there now. Either way, the cars are absolutely the most pressing problem. The undead are still occupying the distant part of the cemetery, and you get the feeling that these aren't the kind of undead that Jane was screwing around with making. This seems so much more like the end of the world, people rising from the dead, sign of the apocalypse sort of undead. All the same, it doesn't seem right to leave this town undefended against them, especially when you could help, but you have to put this fire out so that everyone else can get through. Terezi, go destroy those zombies too. I'll try to fix this, you tell her, and hop off her head, flying under your own power now. Don't think that I'm doing this because you told me to. I just really like setting things on fire. I'm glad it works out so well for you then, you say sarcastically, and slow your fall into the fire with your wings. The road is molten beneath your feet. Even as you touch it, you sink in. Shit. No way the cars can drive over this, even if you put the fire out. Unless you can take that fire out of all of it. You float on the thermal energy of the fire and drift to the center of the molten road and reach down. You focus on the heat, the light, the concept of fire itself. Your fingers dip through the molten road, and when you pull back, the fire around you stops. The fire in your hand glows impossibly bright, and it puts you in the mind of light magic that's supposed to be Rose's domain, or that is supposedly Rose's domain. You close your hand fully at the same time as you have that thought, and get the distinct feeling that you don't dissipate the power, but instead send it somewhere else. Stopping the fire and solidifying the road fixed the problem, of sort, for a charitable interpretation of it at least. The road is bubbly and rippled all over with jagged parts of melted cars sticking out here and there. It's not completely impassable, but it's hardly easily traversable. The gentle request to return to Rose seeps through your mind, so you take to the air and fly the short distance to the cars. You land on top of yours and lean in through the sunroof. You should probably get in and rest. Besides, the air's looking really smoky ahead, Rose suggests. You're not going to argue with her, so you drop into the car and sit down as the sunroof closes. Around the car, the motorcade slows and shifts fully into single file. Rose said there were zombies again. Is that right? Jade whispers in horror, and all you can do is nod. Outside the window, there's a wall of fire as Terezi eradicates zombie after zombie as she sees them. Smoke fills the sky, and for the first time it really sinks in for you. This is the end of the world. Boom, bada bing, end of the chapter. Whoa. Bam, 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 no. That is it. That is it. Yeah. Chapter 40. My god. Wow. Chapter end. Yeah. It's the fucking end of the world. Oh my god. I love Dave creating Solux. I love that scene. I love them. They're so cute. They're so cute. And they were in such a shitty situation. And I want them to be in a better one. End of the world and end of the chapter. True. So tomorrow we will be doing chapter 40. Oh my god, we're getting so close. And 40 is a little bit longer than today's, but not by much. So is tomorrow Thursday or Wednesday? tomorrow's Thursday, right? Tomorrow's Thursday. So it'll probably be what? If we do, again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I don't know if I'll... Wait, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. Tomorrow's Thursday. So if next week on the 20th, I actually have... We wouldn't technically end next week because tomorrow would be 40, and then Monday would be 41, Tuesday would be 42, Wednesday would be 43, Thursday in theory would be 44. But I might have to skip Thursday next week because we have our big graduation exhibit, our big art exhibit, and I don't know if I'll be back in time. So in theory, we end in 2 weeks on Tuesday on the 25th. If we read every day, excluding that Thursday. So exciting stuff. Very, very, very exciting stuff. Such a long fic, it is. I can't believe we're so close. We really are. I can't believe we've been doing this for like 2 months. Oh my goodness. I wonder if you can you go into a YouTube playlist and see how long the total is? I would kind of be curious about how long the, if you took all of the chapters, all the VOD chapters, like all the hours and added it up, how long it is. You think it's MCE bits on? Isn't MCE shorter if you don't count the side fix? Yeah, but if you're not counting the side fix, just MCE is shortest, right? Oh, well, okay, but if you're gonna count MCE's supplementals, then you probably should also technically count undas or alternate universes. So is it still the shortest? I don't know if you count all those, especially with how long 20 seconds earlier is. Right, but a lot of the side fix are part of the fic. Oh, I guess that makes sense. If you look at it like that. We have 38 videos in the VOD channel, and they're anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. They tend to range closer to an hour and 30 minutes. So if I just guesstimate, right, and I do 38 times 1.5, that's like 57 hours, probably almost 60 hours of reading. Goddamn. That is a lot. That is so much reading. That's like more hours than I've put into like fucking... I'm trying to think of a good comparison. Longest fuck audiobook for real. Yeah, you could play my playlist and let it go for like more than 2 days and it would still be going. Wild. Well, I'm glad you all have joined me on this story. We're getting so close. We're getting close to the end. But yeah, I'm gonna dip. I have a lot of work to do, and even though I love streaming because it gives me a distraction from said work, I do have to go do the work. But I don't want to do it, but I have to. So I'm gonna go do that. I hope you all have a very, very lovely night. EMC2 is tomorrow. Okay, actually, really quick, we'll discuss this. EMC2 is tomorrow. And it will probably be posted because Unda's sleep schedule is or not sleep schedule. Unda's time zone is like different, right, to mine. And Unda will post chapters pretty early for my time. like I'll wake up and I'll see an unda chapter when they update. So in theory, maybe I'm gonna think about it tomorrow. But if we're feeling up to it, I might do a surprise morning stream and we'll stream the first chapter of EMC2 of me reading it out loud blind. I don't know if I'm gonna do it. And if I did do it, it would be like at fucking 11 a.m. or noon or whatever. I'm not sure if I will, but I might. So just like keep an eye out for that. Again, I don't know if I will 100%. I'll like update my Twitch title if you get really curious and you want to check. I'll update my Twitch title and say if I'm not doing it or if I'm doing it later, whatever. We'll see. I might not. I don't know. Yeah. So just keep an eye out for that. But until then, or until tomorrow, whenever I stream next, hope you all have a lovely, lovely night, and I will see you all then. Bye-bye. Have a nice night, y'all. Good night, good night. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.